On this episode, I'm going to replace a battery in a 2021 Volkswagen Atlas. And while my wife borrowed my car, she ran over a screw. Cool. Today I'll be replacing a battery in my wife's 2021 Volkswagen Atlas. The tools I'll need for the job are as follows: a socket wrench, a 13mm socket, a 10mm socket, a socket extension, an OBD scanning tool, and a long, thin, flathead screwdriver. Lastly, a new battery. I'll add links in the description below. The first step is to loosen the battery terminals. We use the 10mm socket for this. You can even take the negative side off if you like, but the positive one is actually buried under this junction box. For now, I'm just going to loosen the positive side, and when I take the junction box off, then I'll be able to take this wire off the battery. With the battery terminals loosened, let's start on this junction box. First, we need to remove this cover. There's some tabs right here on the side that I have to press in, and then I just pull back on the cover until it unclips. We will start by removing this large wire from the junction box. It's attached in two places. You'll need a 13mm socket to take the nut off of the top, and then a screwdriver or a flat pry bar to pry the wire free on the side of the battery. Next, we'll work on this 10mm nut, and once that is removed, we can start to move to the sides of the junction box where there is two tabs that you'll need to put a screwdriver down on the side of the tab and pull out toward the side of the car. This will release each side and the junction box should lift right off the top of the battery. The 13mm nut that holds this wire on didn't give me too much trouble. However, this clip on the side was pretty stubborn. It took a while of prying, but I finally got that popped off. Next, this nut, 10mm, was no problem again, just unscrewed it and removed it. Lastly, I had to pop the tabs on the side. This one was a little tricky, just trying to find a screwdriver that would fit, but as you can see, once I got one side undone, the other one came free pretty easily. Once I had the junction box out of the way, it was easy to take off the positive side of the terminal. I'd already taken off the negative one at this point. Now that everything is removed from the top of the battery, we're going to remove the 13mm nut that holds this base plate down that keeps the battery from moving around in your engine bay. Once we loosen this nut and take it off, we can remove the metal plate that's holding the bottom of the battery, and we can pull the battery straight out of this opening. It took me a while to find an extender long enough, but once I had this bolt removed, this metal plate came out pretty easily. The last part is just pulling this battery out. It's a little bit awkward because of how tall the car is, but it came out pretty easily, and then in goes the new battery. Now that this new battery's in, everything's going to go together in the exact opposite order. So I put the base plate in again and tighten that down with a 13mm nut. I'm going to put some dielectric grease on each of the terminals, and then I'm going to reconnect the wire and then tighten down each of those. Again, this is a 10mm nut. Once that's in place, I can put this little junction tray or box back in place. Goes over this post, and then the sides just clip to the side of the battery. I replace the 10mm nut and tighten that down. Now it's time to put this wire back in, and honestly it went in really easily. Just clip that on the side, and then I had to push the junction box a little bit to the side, but I was able to get the 13mm nut tightened. Lastly was just putting the cover back on top and connecting the positive terminal. Alright, so every single warning light that can be on is on. Easiest way to get most of those lights to go away is turn your wheel back and forth, get in your car, drive around the block. That'll clear most of your codes when you switch a battery. So don't panic if you get in and then all kinds of warning lights are on. Now that the new battery is installed, I'm going to use this OBDEleven scan tool to program the battery for the car. Basically, I just have to inform the car what kind of battery I have and how many amp hour so that the car will charge the battery properly. I apologize. The first time we filmed this, we filmed it in portrait mode, and it made it really hard to read and see when I transferred it over. So we're going to film this again real quick. So now that the new battery is installed, I have to program the car so that it understands what battery type it is and can charge it appropriately. First thing I do is I plugged in my OBD scanning tool and I'm going to click connect. And I've got the ignition on. So that took about 2 minutes to connect. This Atlas is always very slow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the modules button down below. So I'm down in the control units here, and what I'm looking for is gateway. Right here. Now that I'm in gateway, I'm going to go down to adaptation, battery adaptation. Here I need to just fill in a little bit of details about the battery. I took a picture on my phone before I filled this in so I would have it. And it's a 70 amp hour battery. It's a Duralast. The battery serial number really doesn't matter. You can just edit what's there. And if it's all ones or if it's blank, I put all ones and then a 2 on the end. As long as it's different than what was there. And then the most important, well, second most important part, binary AGM is the battery technology. So mine was an AGM battery. And there's a couple different options here. Make sure you pick the one that fits your battery. And then at the end, you just slide to right. Should take a few minutes to get the whole thing done. And once it's set up, you're all finished. Just drive the car around the block and you should be good to go. Hopefully you found this helpful. And if you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Also, if you want to get more up to date on what I'm doing and projects I'm working on, check out my Instagram at Mere Mortals Attempt.